I can smell something, Billy.
Yeah, me too. Big Brother's watching.
I can smell fear. I can smell fear with buyers, and I can smell fear with sellers. But don't fear. Big Brother is here. With property, stay tuned. We're going to tell you more about it.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I think that's going to get made into a reel. Don't fear, Big Brother is here.
The most regulated asset class in the country, property. And the conversations we are having all day, every day with buyers and sellers are real. They are raw, and they go a little something like this, what we're talking about today. And it's everything's going to be okay is the famous words, because Big Brother is watching. The government loves to step in on the property market. When it's going down, they love to step in with incentives. When it's going up, they love to step in with interest rate rises.
It's interesting. So you've been in this property market for 40 odd years now? Not to give away your age. Sorry.
28.
28 years.
Yeah, but exposed to it, I'm 45. So, yeah. My dad was a real estate agent.
Okay, so yeah, growing up in the family, you've you've had some good exposure to it. It's been up and down in cycles throughout that time. Is this like old news for you now?
Well, 40 years. I did some research overnight in Sydney. In the 40 years, the last 40 years, property has gone up. It's compounded. And for people who aren't that good at their maths, I'm going to explain what compounded means. It's compounded 7.7% on average every year without fail. If you want to look at your stats, 7.7. What that means is it basically it goes up that 7.7%. Now it's worth 100,007. Then it goes up 7.7 on the 107,000, and then it's 115,000. It goes up 7.7 on 115,000. So it's compound growth. It's not like a percentile of like an interest rate. It's compounded. You pay a competitive interest rate for a loan. That's a heavy interest rate. So it's compounded. And the Sydney market corrects on average every 5.5 years.
Yep. And you were saying how much?
Corrects by 5%.
5%. Every 5 years on average.
Yep. On average. So it's hard. And the government loves property. They love property. They don't love Bitcoin, my friends. They don't love a particular stock. They love property. It is homes. It is shelter. It is the biggest asset class in the country. Have no fear, my friends out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we were talking off air, property, you were saying biggest employment sector for the country?
There is the most amount of jobs in Australia are supplied via property. Property supports building industry. Property supports, offices. Property supports homes. Property supports rich and poor. It is there for everyone.
Yeah. And so, there definitely is a factor of Big Brother, it's important that there is some sort of regulation, because if it was left unattended to, it would, well, who knows where it would be.
Who knows where it will be? It's on track. But Bill, you know, the hard thing, Billy, the old man in a young man's body, the hard thing for people to remember, and this is what everyone's got to keep in the front of their mind, is when you cut, you bleed. So I'm going to get a little knife and I'm going to just get it on your arm. All of your focus goes towards that. And you're like, Jesus, I'm bleeding. But what you don't forget is I'm healthy. I'm happy. I can walk. I can talk. I can eat. I can rest. I can work. You just forget in that moment. You forget and you focus and isolate on that pain point of bleeding at the moment. And that's what that's what people are doing at the moment.
Yeah. And so that the helicopter approach, the helicopter view, seeing it from much the bigger perspective, you know, this is a natural cycle, and it's just another one of the phases, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Our forests are designed to burn.
It's true.
Right? So what happens if, for people that don't know, the fire ravishes through our forests. When the trees get burnt, the core of the trees don't get burnt. They're built to survive. All of the undergrowth on the ground gets burnt, which is all the leaves, all that fuel on the ground gets burnt up, and then all of the seeds drop out of the branches, and they drop fresh seeds to the ground, and they can grow well because there's not fuel on the ground blocking sunlight and blocking water and allowing the seed to go in. It's just this natural selection, or this natural thing that markets do that we do as people, and that's what it's going through.
Yeah. And it was interesting, earlier in the week I heard someone saying, you know, there's never a report in the media to say property market is normal. Property market is just tracking as it should, normal. No news to report this week, guys. Everything's good. It's always seems to be an extreme high or an extreme low. And if it's not interest rates, you were saying some of the other things, it's, you know, grants, or it's stamp duty, or, you know, who knows what. There's so many different things. It's a new election. So there's always seems to be something to talk about.
Yep. And you know what? If it was just, and it happens, look, it happens with the human body, right? It goes through the same thing. It goes through a birth, it ages, it dies. It's just the way it is. And if it wasn't that way, like, can you imagine staying 19 years of age for your whole life? I don't know if that's much fun either. You know what I mean? Or staying 40 years of age, or I think you've got to go through those ebbs and flows with markets, with days, with weeks, with years, in order to appreciate where you are at. So, you know, where the property market is at the moment, people think it's terrible that it's not going up like it was. But it's like, hang on a sec, that's pretty boring as well. If it was also predictable, I don't think anyone would be making any money or good money. Everyone would just be doing the same thing, making the same money.
And silly kind of decisions as well, right? Because there is a lot of emotion on this, you know, big decisions. So, you know, we just saw some not so normal decisions last year. People getting themselves into positions where they maybe not, you know, wouldn't have been without the hype. That you were saying, the like in the moment decisions are a big thing. They're a big thing.
Huge. It's like that example I gave of bleeding or getting cut. You just focus on that. You make a decision based on that. It's probably not the right decision. Do you know what I mean? You sort of want to sort of calm down, settle, and make your decisions on that. it's. I think it's really interesting that we've come from an environment of free money. When interest rates, I had clients that had fixed on interest rates of 1.8%. 1.8% I think in the property world is free money, and when the rates are going to go up and are going up, it's like, well, of course you've got to pay for things now. Like, shit, yeah, but it really hurts. I'm really scared. Yes, you should be.
Yeah. For those that haven't seen where the market was 10 years ago, though, what would you say a normal interest rate is?
I think if you were going off, the trend has been lower than where it's ever been, but the market's been more regulated and the information's been more to the second than it's ever been. So, the government used to have to wait 3 months or 1 year to look back on their economy and make decisions. They're doing it in seconds now. They can see patterns within seconds now. So that's given us a lot more control in our market. That's the long answer to your question. But I think the short answer is probably around that 4% mark.
Okay.
Lisa Novak's here.
It's Lisa's got a couple of comments here. So we're still in the green once you do the maths. And they're buying a fridge at Harvey Norman, interest free for 24 months, and then you got to pay for it.
And then when you don't pay for it, it's all the same. It's true.
It is all the same. Yep.
Is that a show, Billy Bob?
I think that's the takeaway. Don't worry. Big Brother is watching. Big Brother is always going to look after us, right?
Oh, you know what? I'm not a religious person, but you got to have faith and have a helicopter view. Don't make these decisions in these. Oh my God, interest rates have gone up. I'm going to sell it or buy it right now. Be cool, be calm, and I think that it's all going to be okay. And you've got to think essential. Do shit that's essential at the moment. So work is essential, food is essential. Do you need the new car or do you need the holiday? Well, that's the question. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's essential. I'm falling apart. Yes, you take the holiday. It's essential. My car's falling apart. Yes, you buy the car. So I think if you want to work out where the market's going in the short term, work out what's essential to you and to people in the economy. And I think that's a pretty good roadmap of where it's going.
I love that. If there was one other tip you could give to the people out there about looking at it from a bigger perspective, how have you nailed that?
Say that again.
If there's one tip you can give to people to look at things in the bigger perspective, the big picture, how can you nail that?
I think that essential thing, just working out what's essential and backing that. I think we forget that 2 years ago was the exact same turning point for us when we were told there was this worldwide flu and that potentially there was going to be mass deaths across the world, and we didn't know how big the pandemic was or was going to get. We sort of jacked up a little bit. We sort of froze up a little bit.
Yeah.
And who would have predicted? We went gangbusters. Now we're at similar volumes or lack of volume of sales in the marketplace, and people are at that choke point again. But at that point, people just did what was essential, and I think at this point, people will do the same thing. They're at that, because the volumes in the marketplace, or the amount of properties that are selling in the marketplace, are similar to those volumes when COVID hit first time. So our volumes are pretty low across New South Wales. So I think just people will just do what's essential. Essential is the word.
That's the show.
That's the show.
And patience.
Patience. Bye, everyone. Have a good